So friends, AMP is a non-profit organization having registered offices in India, USA, UK, and Australia. And the AMP chapters are across the world. Our mission is to empower the underprivileged for the greater benefit of the society and the nation as a whole. With a vision of having a community advanced in education, socially progressive, culturally vibrant, politically influential, and economically dynamic. A little bit about the achievements we have done so far. We have been in the social area, the economic development for the past 12 years with some of the renowned projects of us. That is school development program 50 plus skills connected with 275,000 students benefit. 100 plus teachers training programs and parenting workshops have been done. Then we have employment assistance cell with 350 plus job fairs and job drives, 20,000 candidates employed, and 200 plus employability training programs with 15,000 plus degree students benefited. Scholarships and self-employment is another project of AMP, which has been benefiting thousands of students, not only students, but the families in the higher education scholarships. 800 plus programs of scholarships have been run. 750 plus orphan school education has been done, and 250 plus families transformed by offering self-employment and the assistance so that they can earn their livelihood as well as educate their children. Then we have an AMP resource center with 600 plus career counselors. These career counselors go hand in hand with the students and guide them towards their career journey. Up till now, 2,000 plus students counsel and 50 plus documents on career guidance has been issued by us. 1,000 plus career chart distribution, which is handy to refer to. Awards and partnerships, 280 plus renowned educationalists and the awards connected with in the field of education have been received, and we have also been awarding the teachers and the principals in terms of appreciating their contribution towards education. Then 30 plus partners for skill training and job fairs, including state government. 50 plus partner NGOs for various programs have been done, and this number is increasing. We are taking more NGOs on board so that we can work at the grassroots level. Can we have the next PPT? Some of the new initiatives which are very promising, which have been very successful in the past year, is indiazakat.com. That is a crowdfunding platform wherein the basic idea is to bring the zakat seekers and the zakat givers on a unified platform. Its objective is to undertake its operation purely with the intent of bringing socio-economic transformation in the lives of people. And this project is helping out not only in terms of livelihood, in terms of medical assistance, in terms of people looking out for the help in order to improve their life standard. The indiamentors.com is another program of ours which has been doing wonderfully in terms of education. You have this system in abroad where one candidate, one mentor, one student, one mentor. The mentor guides the students right from the very beginning of the career in terms of taking which subject, then moving on to what college, what degree, and how to move ahead with their career, with the goal in terms of his or her aptitude. This is a fully educated and empowered student community where no one is left out on the wheel of progress and development due to lack of awareness and guidance. This is the basic aim with which we are running indiamentor.com. Now, the next slide, which would be showing our presence in India as well as abroad. We have more than 100 plus active chapters which are spread across 25 states with 6,000 plus active members, 16 countries, And the online presence is remarkable with a huge number of members and professionals connected. You can log on to our website www.ampindia.org, and we can have the next slide so that the audience can see the details of our website and everything. And you can write us to info@ampindia.org. And if you're seeking scholarships, if you are looking out for some help, you can always connect with us. You can also join AMP, be it a student, a professional. We are open to have you on board. Thank you very much. This is all about AMP. Now, today's speaker, today's guest, let me give you a brief introduction. I heartily welcome Mr. Sajid Khan to have this program on higher education in Turkey, opportunities and challenges. Mr. Sajid Khan is a PhD candidate in the Department of Social Work, Hacettepe University, Turkey. He has been an active researcher in the area of migration, refugees, social integrating, child rights, social welfare, and minority rights. Presently, he is a research assistant at the Center of Migration Research and Application at Yildirim Beyazıt University, Ankara. He is also the recipient of gold medal in his Master of Social Work program from the Central University of Himachal Pradesh, India. He has done his bachelor's from Aligarh Muslim University. He is also engaged with various national and international research organizations. Now, before moving on to the speaker, I hand it over to Razak Bhai to move ahead further with the context as to how are we going to learn from our speaker. Over to you, Razak Bhai.
Jazakallah, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome everyone on this webinar, on a special webinar on education and scholarship opportunity in Turkey. We have esteemed my friend Mohammad Sajid Khan, who is going to take us through the entire experience that he has gone through in Turkey. Our idea of conducting this webinars is basically to get the right information to our students. Unfortunately, there are more than 1 lakh students who goes abroad every year for higher education. Especially in India, we see that a lot of students struggle a lot in getting admission into the elite colleges of India. But if you look abroad, out of the top 500 universities in the world, globally top 500 university, India has very small pie of it. There are very limited IITs, which are only limited colleges which are part of the top 500. So there is a plethora of oceans that is available to us across the globe. We need to identify and start working on that. With that objective, AMP started working on this great initiative to educate our masses, our students, our youth about higher education. Our focus area is very clear that largely students who go abroad preferred going to US, Canada, Australia, or this top 10 destination for higher education. But we know the condition of the community. We know there are very meritorious people, but unfortunately, financially, they are not that great, that sound. So for them, that might not be a preferred destination. So we started exploring what are the other avenues, other locations where we can tie off purely on the basis of merits. My students are getting 90% scores, but they don't have financial background. So can we explore for places where we get high quality education among the top 500 university ranking, but at very low cost or at economical cost? With the benefit of scholarship, that burden also goes off. That was a reason why we started working on identifying countries and doing webinars on that. We have already covered Germany, we have already covered UK, we have already covered Sweden. So that's a journey that we are following up. Inshallah, in 2021, we are going to cover the key top 20 locations across the globe जहां पर हम चाहते हैं हमारे बच्चे पढ़ने जाएं. हम कोशिश करेंगे उन बच्चों की हैंड होल्डिंग करने की. फर्स्ट start the journey with a webinar by an expert who will guide you. वो अपने experience share करेंगे कि how they have been there. They are our role models. Sajid Bhai has gone to Turkey. He becomes a role model for the youth in India today. We should follow his footstep and move to that direction. So similarly, we'll try to get more speakers. So that will be part one. Part two will be there. We will guide you and we will try to connect you to the right mentor who will guide you through that the journey. सिर्फ इन्फॉर्मेशन आप तक नहीं पहुंचाना था, हमारा इंटेंशन ये था कि आप में अगर वो सहलियत है, आप में वो क्वालिफिकेशन है, then you will be able to connect with the right mentor who will guide you how to go there. Third, we will try to identify right scholarship so that each of every student get benefit out of that. Just showing you the direction is not enough, because even you can Google and get it, but making a end-to-end process is our objective. And with that intention, we have started this great series of webinar on international education. Without taking much of time, I would like to request my friend Sajid Khan to take us. A small background: Sajid Bhai is from Asansol in West Bengal. He's been a part of AMU and currently doing his PhD from Turkey. So a great journey in his academic qualification, and let us hear from him. Horses mouth से सुनने बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि उन्होंने कैसा किया, and how can we follow his footstep. I hand over the session to Sajid Khan. To you, Sajid Bhai.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Razak Bhai, and thank you so much, Ms. Sufia, for that brief introduction. Dear all, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon to all of you. As you have already heard from Sufia, there is like a slight mispronunciation. I must say that it's Hacettepe University, not Hacettepe. And I just wanted to, don't be offended, Ms. Sufia, because I wanted to share this, because when I went for my interview, I also pronounced in the same way, Hacettepe. But it's Hacettepe because in Turkey, C is pronounced as J. So just wanted to clear that. The thing is, thank you so much, all of you, and thank you so much, AMP, for organizing this webinar. And I hope this will help you to shape your career. This will help you to get good scholarships in Turkey. And as pointed out by Mr. Razak, like really there are many places which are not explored by Indian students. Most of them, they wanted to go to UK, US, Germany, you know, to some high class universities. But let me tell you, there are much better universities and there are much better vacancies or positions available for you that you are not exploring. So I will request you to explore as much as possible. Like people can go to Japan, people can go to Korea, people can go to Turkey. You know, there are a lot of places. And even if I will tell you, my university ranks 401 in the global ranking, in QR ranking, you know, in Times Now ranking also it is very good. So I must say that don't think yourself that you cannot achieve anything. As Mr. Razak said, I'm not agree with that I'm a role model, because I have many things to achieve now. But you could be a role model, really. You could explore yourself. You could go to any places wherever you want. The only thing is needed is to do some hard work, do some research, find the best university for your courses or for your streams, and inshallah you will get it. Now moving up to the presentation, I would like to share my slide here. I hope I'm audible, because I'm talking and I don't know, like, people are able to hear me or not. Razak Bhai, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's clear, Sajid.
Okay,
It's clear.
okay then. So for today's presentation, I don't know, like, it's not only about the Turkish scholarship given by the Turkish government, it's also about various other scholarships which are given by the social and ministerial institutions. You know, there are so many scholarships that are given by the Turkish authorities, I must say. It's not by the government also. So let's begin this presentation, and in the end of this presentation I would share my experience, like my 5.5 year experience in Turkey. I guess this will help you to decide whether you have to come here or not, because there are certain things which are really important in terms of your career, in terms of your age, you know. So I would share at the end of this presentation, and then we will switch into the question and answer session. So as you know, there are many scholarship programs in Turkey, and one of the most talkative, one of the most famous scholarship is Turkish government scholarship, which is also called as the Türkiye Bursları. So burs means scholarship actually. So after that, there are many other scholarships which are given by the Ministry of Religion, Ministry of Science and Technology. There are also some scholarships which are given by the NGOs, some social institutions. So all these scholarships are listed here. There are much more, like I don't want to cover them because they are very limited and only for a specific people. But if you have any query, you can just write to me, and inshallah I'll try to answer your queries. So we'll go to these scholarship programs one by one, and let's see what are their eligibility criteria, how much stipend they are giving, what are the other facilities they are giving. So let's go one by one. So finally, we have this Turkish Bursary, which is one of the most famous and comprehensive scholarship by the government of Turkey. This scholarship is given since last 6 years, I guess. Yes, 8 years, 2012. Like this started in 2012, but it doesn't mean it was not there. It was there before 2012, but it was only limited to the Balkan region. People coming from these countries like Georgia, Romania, Greece, Kosovo, Serbia, all these countries. So because these countries have a minority of ethnic, like a minority of Turkish ethnic population, that's why they were giving to these countries. Later on in 2012, they extended this scholarship to the whole world. Now people coming from 160 countries are getting scholarship under this program, and they're studying in Turkey. The most interesting thing is that it's not only a scholarship, it's a very comprehensive program. Like you will get to know in the further slides also that it not only gives you financial security, it also gives you university placement, which is very important. Like if you may have applied for some European scholarship, they give you a grant, they give you some kind of financial money, and you have to take care of other things like your health insurance, your accommodation, your fooding, your lodging, everything. But this scholarship cover all those things. You don't have to pay a single penny for anything. Your health insurance, your accommodation, everything will be covered under this scholarship. I'm going fast because I think there is a lot of slides to cover, so I only have like half an hour. So we'll go with a small video, and later on we will come to this slide. So I would just like to show you, maybe you must have seen this video before, but it's a very small video about the introductory part of Turkish scholarship. So we'll go with that video, and then we'll come back to this slide. So Razak bhai, I'm again asking you, is it visible, this video?
No, Sajid bhai.
Okay, let me share it again, I think.
Sajid bhai, we can see only a blank video written on the screen.
Is this Turkish? Can you see this now, Turkish scholarship?
No, it's a blank screen with word video written over it.
So this is the advantages of going online platform. I don't know, like, because since last 1 year in pandemic, we are doing all these things. Still now there are some technical things that we have to learn. So let me see if I can do it now, share. So I think now it is available. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is a 2-minute video, and which will give you a brief sketch of Turkish scholarship, what actually it is, and then we will move on to the scholarship. Is it audible, Razak bhai?
No, audio is not there.
Okay, you can find this video if it is not audible. I'm just playing it now, and then if you cannot find it, just go to the YouTube, write Turkish Scholarship 2021, and you will find this video. Is the slide is available now? Can you see it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So if you haven't seen that video, or maybe if you are not able to see the audio of that video, like please go to the website, or you go to the YouTube, you can see it. It's a very brief introduction, like 45-second introduction of that scholarship. Let me tell you that this scholarship is funded by the Turkish government, and this scholarship is funded through the Ministry of Turkish like the Department of Turkish Living Abroad. There is a department for community who are staying out of their country. We call it diaspora. So this scholarship is funded by YTB, the Ministry of YTB, and this has been started since 2012. Right now there are more than 16,000 students studying in Turkey under this scholarship program. Also, every year they are giving 5,000 students this scholarship, like they are awarded this scholarship every year. So, and also I think for each country they have certain quotas. Like for India, they are taking 100 people or 200 people or 500 people. So each country also have some kind of quota to get the scholarship. And if you see the alumni numbers, it's really huge. It's 150,000 alumni are present, and these alumni associations are also working in their respective countries. Maybe like in India, I don't know, we are not very active, but in Somali, in Ghana, in Djibouti, in Nigeria, they are really active. Especially in African countries, they are really active. They are not only participating in the local politics, they are also participating in very international affairs, you know. So this is why this scholarship is very important, because it takes care of your studies as well as it also takes care of your post studies, how you are going to shape your career. Now moving on to the mission and vision, which I already said. Their vision and mission is to enable more and more international students to study in Turkey, because I don't know, it's not officially accepted, but what I think that Turkish government try to do is to make Turkish community more multicultural, more multi-language. That is what they wanted to do. The other objective of this scholarship program is to make good relationship with the countries from where the students are coming. For example, they have a very good relation right now with Somalia. They have very good relation with now many of the African countries. It's all because of this Turkish scholarship, because once you are graduated from here, you are going back to your country, you are working for your country, and then these people, they get in touch with you and then try to make some kind of good relation. It also helped to remove the social barriers, the language barriers, you know, and even some prejudices that we have for Turkey or that we have for other countries. The last and most important is to understanding among societies. Like maybe I don't know how people see Turkey as a country, but when I was applying for this scholarship, I used to think Turkey as some kind of Muslim country, some Arabian country or something, but really it is not so. When you will come to Istanbul or you will come to Ankara, you won't feel something like that. You know, it's totally different. People are really different. People are like, by culture they are Westerner, by religion they are Muslim. So it's a very how can I say, it's a very unique kind of combination. You won't find it in any Middle East countries or any other countries, I guess. Also if you see, the image of Turkey is also has increased because of this scholarship program, because I know, like before 10 years we only know about Istanbul, the beautiful Boğazi tower, or maybe Hagia Sophia or something, but right now we know a lot of things about Turkey. Even the Turkish series and Ertugrul and all these things, they are getting popular in India, Pakistan and our subcontinental countries. So this is all because of this scholarship program. Now coming back to the scholarship program, as you already know, the online application process is already under process since last month, from 10th of January, and the deadline to finish your application is 20 February. So if you are eligible for this scholarship, do apply for it. If you have any query, anything, you can write it to me on my email. And let's see what are the criterias and eligibility criterias for this scholarship. So the Turkish government offers scholarships in different levels. One of this is undergraduate levels. The other one is postgraduate levels. The undergraduate level scholarship is for bachelors, like if you want to do BA, BSc, or maybe to engineering, like BTech or something, then you can apply for the undergraduate scholarship. For post-graduation, it is for masters and PhD. They also have some short-term scholarship programs, that is one-year program for people who wanted to study Turkish language, Turkish culture, or other things. It's a very short-term scholarship program. The research scholarship program is also available, and this is available throughout the year. You can apply anytime, but it will take 3 months to evaluate your application process. So within 3 months, you will get response from them. This scholarship is also called as postdoctoral scholarship. Like maybe for people who want to do PDF, they can apply under this research scholarship program. The last one is Turkish language program for public officials and academics. That is in Turkish, it is called Katib. So Katib is especially for people who are working in ministries or working in some government agencies. They wanted to come to Turkey, they want to learn Turkish language. Then they can come here and they can easily get a scholarship under this program, and they can stay here for like 9 to 10 months. Sometimes it can also be extended for 12 months, and they will be given 2,000 Turkish lira for staying here and to to stay here and do their livelihood. They also can do some kind of short-term jobs here if they have permission from the employment ministries. Now coming back to how to apply. So I don't know maybe how many people have applied for scholarships, but I think I have applied for Germany, I have applied for Belgium, Netherlands, I was also in Germany in 2014. So I know European scholarship programs sometimes are really hard to apply. They need a lot of things from you. You need to go many times to the registrar office, to the departmental, registrar. So it's really hard, but this scholarship is one of the easiest and most simple in terms of application. You just have to go to their website. You have to create your login and password, and then you have to upload your original scanned documents. Once you will upload your scanned document, they will offer you 12 choices. Based on your interest, you can prioritize your choices. Like, okay, I want to study mechanical engineering in Hacettepe University. You can make it choice 1. Then you will say there is another scholarship from Ankara University. So you can say I want to study mechanical or some kind of some related course in Ankara University. You can choose it at 2nd or 3rd and 4th and so on. So you can have 12 choices for this. The letter on that is very important. I would say the letter of intent is very, very, very important. I must say it's really important because I'm focusing it, because it not only gives evaluation committee a very unique way to select you, because I know they are going to select people from equals. So the letter of intent is very important. And when you are writing your letter of intent, which can also be said at SOP, be specific, show it what is not there in your application, be honest, and don't exaggerate. Okay, just write whatever is unique in you, whatever achievements you have done, and send it to them. Don't try to be like very philosophical or very, how can I say, don't try to show it like that you really need that scholarship. Just be honest, show them that you deserve this scholarship. That is what you have to do. Now finally, once you will do all these things, submit your application. And before submitting application, you also need 2 reference letters from your maybe you can take it from the job that you are doing now, like from the HR or from some agencies that you are working there, or you can make some 2 academic references, maybe from your professor, from your dean, from your principal. So whatever is available there. So you just have to put 2 in reference letter along with your application. Now coming back to the application, as you all know, this application is available online mode, and there is no person, no institution responsible to apply on behalf of you. So don't get into any scam or any kind of fraudulent, because this scholarship is totally online. You don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to pay any fee or anything. Just go into the turkishbursary.com.tr and then you apply here. And there are now, I think earlier there was only 3 or 4 languages, but now there are 8 languages available to apply. So you can apply in Turkish, English, Arabic, French, Spanish, Russian, Bosnian, and Persian. So all these 8 languages are available there. Even if your documents are in these 8 languages, you just can, you don't have to translate those documents. You just can scan them and upload them. But if your documents or diplomas or transcript are in any other language out of these 8 languages, then you need to translate the documents in these 8 languages, maybe in English if you prefer, and then send it to them. You upload them in the website. Now coming back to the documents that are required for this application, You need to have a valid identification document. It could be your Aadhaar, it could be your voter ID, it could be your driving license, whatever your state or your government has recognized it. A valid passport. This is very important, I must say, because if you do not have a passport and you are awarded this scholarship, then it's a really big trouble for you. Because I know one of my friend from Kanpur, he had similar kind of situation. He got this scholarship, but he doesn't have a passport. And once he went to make his passport or something, it takes, I don't know, maybe it takes too much time and he has to leave that scholarship. So it's really important to have your passport before you get that scholarship. If you are applying for this scholarship now and you do not have passport, go and make it as soon as possible. It will take like 3 to 4 months, I think, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe in Tatkal passport you can do it. I don't know. Like, it's not to be very hurry because the result will declare in August. So you have a time to get your passport in an ordinary way. Now, the third thing is a recent photograph, and this photograph should be very clear. It should be a biometric photograph. If you do not have it, then go and take like 2-3 photographs. And you will also need photographs once you will reach to Turkey, because you have to put photographs in every and all the documents. So take as many as you can. National exam scores. So if you have SAT or any other exams, you can upload it in the system. Diploma and temporary certificates for graduation. So like if you have already graduated, you may have your diploma and transcript with you. But if you are not graduated, maybe you're in final year, make sure that you graduated before August, because in the interview they will ask you whether you are graduated or not, and you may have to produce your graduation certificate. Academic transcript. Often people ask me what is transcript and what is mark sheet. So transcript is very important. If it's a sum of your all semesters marks, because it's not your mark sheet, it's very different thing. So if like maybe in Turkish scholarship program, they consider if you have a mark sheet which contains all your 4 semester or all your semesters marks. But if you do not have it, like maybe if you have semester wise result, then please go and ask your department for a transcript. And it will take at least 15 days to get this transcript, I guess. I don't know, maybe it can be less than that, but I think in government agencies, some people like told me that it takes 15 days right now. International exam scores. So if you want to study in technical fields, maybe, or management fields, or maybe in some other fields also, they ask GRE and GMAT. Language test score. Like really, let me tell you that most of the programs in Turkish universities under this Turkish scholarship programs are in Turkish language. So if you want to study in English, you may have to produce, or not may have to, but you have to produce any English proficiency exam score. Maybe it is TOEFL, maybe it is IELTS or any other exam, or maybe if you have any national level English language exam, then you have to produce that. A research proposal and an example of your written work. So if you have a research proposal, this will apply only for the PhD people who are applying for the PhD. They need to produce a proposal that on which proposal they wanted to study, or they wanted to do their PhD, or maybe if they have a published article or something, they can upload it there. It will really help you to maybe to get your scholarship. And let me tell you that you can change your proposal once you have uploaded there. When you will be awarded this scholarship, you can change your proposal like according to your supervisor, according to your university. So it's not a fixed thing, but just for formality, you have to upload a proposal, so that they can see that yes, you are well aware of research ethics and research analysis. So there are certain facts. I think I have already said these things before. Like, this is a very online process. You do not need to pay anything to anybody. Just apply online, and there are 12 choices that you will be getting by the system, and select from on those 12 choices. Now, as I also said, like Turkish scholarships, the main motive of this scholarship is to promote their language. So most of the programs or courses are instructed in Turkish language. And once you will come here, you have to go through with 1 year Turkish language program. It's not 1 year, but it's 9 to 10 months. And you have to have a C1 certificate. There are levels of Turkish language study. One is A1, A2, B1, B2, and C1. So you need at least C1 level certificate in Turkish language to start your department or to start your PhD or masters or bachelors. So, and that will be provided by the Turkish government. Turkish government, under this scholarship, everything is included. So what are the programs that are offered? Like yesterday I checked on their website, there are 4,258 programs from different universities. There are more than 100 universities in Turkey. So if you want to check your program, or if you also wanted to check like whether this program is in English or is in Turkish, if in English, how much TOEFL or IELTS scores are required, you can go to the following this link and you can see it's available in their website. Just go and search for your programs and they will tell you how much TOEFL or IELTS scores they needed to do it in English. Otherwise, you can go for Turkish language. Now, what are the eligibility criteria for this scholarship? So there are two kinds of criteria. One is the academic criteria, like the merit criteria. The other one is the age criteria. So the academic criteria or merit criteria is that for applying undergraduate or bachelor's, you need to have at least 70% marks in your qualifying exam. Or qualifying exam means your senior secondary, your +2. If you want to apply for master's, you need to have 75% scores in your bachelor's. If you want to apply for PhD also, you need to have 75% marks in your master's. Apart from that, if you want to apply for medicine, dentistry or pharmacy, you need to have 90% score in your senior secondary. Like that is a very unique, I don't know, maybe in India also they need creamy people for these kind of courses. So here also they need people who are very good in their marks. So you need to have 90% marks. The other criteria is very, I don't know, I like this criteria because it really helps you to select good people or people who are in a very good direction. So there is an age criteria in this scholarship program. Like if you want to apply for undergraduate, you need to have like 21 years of maximum 21 years of age. Like for example, if you are born on or after 2000, you can apply for this scholarship. But if you are born before 2000, maybe you cannot apply for this scholarship. For masters, if you want to apply for masters, you need to have maximum 30 years of age. So according to this, if you are born in 1991 or on or after 1991, you can apply for the masters. Similarly, for PhD, they need people who are 35 years of age maximum. So if you're born in 1986, I guess, yeah, you on and after 1986, you can apply for this scholarship. Similarly, for post-graduation, like post-doctoral scholarship, you need to have maximum 45 years of age. So if you're born in 1976, I think, yeah, 1976, then you can apply for this scholarship. Now, coming back to the selection process, the selection process is really unique because even now nobody knows how they are going to select you. There are so many things that really matters to get into this scholarship program. So the first and primary assessment is to academic performance, your national examic scores, your required documents, and on the basis of that they will move on to the second review. And the second review is your academic interest, your consistency of choices, your letter of intent. That is why I was telling you letter of intent is very, very important, because in your CV, you can explain a lot of things, but in your letter of intent, you have to summarize everything. And you also have to show how you deserve this scholarship, how unique you are, and why we should offer you this scholarship. Because there are so many people better than you or maybe equal to you applying for this scholarship. So that is why letter of intent is very important. Now, the third one is the interview section. So because once you passed all these two stages, they will send you an email, or maybe you will be invited from your system, because the system where you are applying now, you will be sent a notification that you have been selected for the interview, and the interview will be in your country. Like for my interview, I went to Delhi in the Turkish embassy, and my interview was done there. But they have, I think in India, they have two places. One is in Mumbai, the Turkish consulos, and the second one is Delhi, their Turkish embassy. Yeah, the interview can also happen in some hotels or some other places, but normally they do it in their embassies. For the interview, they will invite you. You have to be there by like whatever time they have given you. And don't worry about the interview. The interview is very simple, very easy. The only thing is that you have to convince them that you are the best person for this scholarship. They will ask you your introduction. Maybe they will ask you about your master thesis, your research experiences, or maybe your projects or whatever you have done in your past. They will also ask you about why you want to pursue in Turkey, why not in another country. They will also ask you like, are you going to come back to India, or how you are going to help the community. These kind of general questions, you know. They just wanted to check your confidence level. They just wanted to check your leadership skills, you know. And they have their own interest also, like that whether if we will take this guy or this candidate, how we are going to help him, or maybe he is going to help us in promoting our things, you know. So this is a very simple interview. Final evaluation. So on the basis of all these three things, they will scrutinize the students. Maybe there are chances that after the interview you got selected, but there are also chances that you may be rejected. So on the basis of that, they will finalize their process, and then they will send you an email with all the necessary documents and agreements, and you have to sign all those agreements, and then you can you just have to wait for your visa. So mechanism of Turkish scholarship, as you all know, this is a very comprehensive scholarship program. This not only gives you a scholarship, that financial stipend and other things, but it also gives you your university placement. You don't have to pay any single Turkish lira or I can say dollar or anything for your university. They will pay all your tuition fee, all your semester fees. Everything will be paid by the Turkish scholarship. You don't have to pay for your health insurance. You don't have to pay for your accommodation. Even if you wanted to go for some kind of internships or some kind of international seminars, they will help you with that. So it's a very comprehensive program. Now, coming back to the most important thing, that how much money you are going to get. So for bachelors, they are giving 800 Turkish lira, which is equal to, I think, 9,000 rupees now. You can calculate, because when I came here, the Turkish lira was 28 rupees equal to 1 Turkish lira, but now it is 10 to 12, I think, maximum 11 now. So it depends. Even, you know, I think 800 TL is a very good amount of money to stay in Turkey, because you will be staying in dormitories. You don't have any other expenses. It is totally your pocket money. You can just have fun with that money. You know, you don't have to pay for anything. For masters, they are going to pay 1,100 Turkish lira, which again is a very handsome amount of money. For PhD, they are going to give you 1,600 Turkish lira. For research, doctoral, they are going to pay you 4,000 Turkish lira. Like maybe in the website you will find it is 3,000, but I think they have changed their policy now. It is 4,000. Even in some other documents I have checked it well. It is 4,000 Turkish lira for postdoctoral. Apart from these financial helps, they are also going to pay university program fees, your tuition fee, your on and off flight tickets. So which means, like, when you first come for your study in Turkey, they will pay for your flight tickets, and the last time when you will graduated and you will going back to your country, they will pay you for that flight. So in between, like in these 4 years or 2 years, if you are going back to your country, you have to pay, you have to bear those expenses by yourself. They will not pay you for flight tickets. The health insurance, which is very important if you want to stay in Turkey, you need to have a SGK, SGK health insurance, which will be given by the İETT. Accommodation. So for bachelor, it is compulsory to stay in government dormitories. And for masters and PhD, they have an option. Like if they want to stay in private apartments or private villa, like I will not say villas, but private homes, then they can stay, and the government will pay you extra 550 Turkish lira for that. I'm staying in an apartment, so they are giving me money for that. Many of the PhD scholars, they are staying in their private homes or apartments. 1 year Turkish language courses. So this Turkish language courses is very important, and all the fees and other things are given by the İETT, the Turkish scholarship as well. You don't have to pay anything for this Turkish language course. Coming back to other services, flight arrangements, they will do everything. Like you just have to fill from where you want to take the flight, okay, from which airport, or from which, from Delhi or from Mumbai, from where. Also opening bank accounts. When you will come here, they will open a bank account for you, and all your scholarships will come, or will be deposited into that bank account. You can just collect the amount from the ATM. Resident permit operation. So when you will come first in Turkey, you will be given 90 days visa from the Turkish embassy in Delhi. When you will come here, you have to show your documents and everything in the migration department, and uh, and you will be given like maybe for 1 year. First of all, they will give you 1 year resident permit, and then when you will join your department, on the basis of your course duration, they will give you a resident permit, maybe for 2 years, for 3 years, or maximum for 4 years, I guess. Meet and greet service at the airport. So I must say that language is one of the major issue here. So when you will arrive in airport, maybe you will not find anybody who can speak English or any other foreign language. So Turkish scholarship people, what they do, they place their students, or maybe people who have come before you and who know a little bit of Turkish. They will be there to host you, to take care of you. They will receive you, and they will take you to your dormitories or your hostels. So don't worry about that. They will take care of all these things. Insurance transactions. So this insurance transaction is like every year they give you 1 year of health insurance. But if if your insurance is expiring, you don't have to worry. They will just renew it. Only in the case once you are extending your course duration, then maybe you have to buy your health insurance by yourself. So, and it's not very expensive. Let me tell you, the health insurances are very cheap here. Dormitories placement, as I said, it is up to the Turkish government to place you in a very well dormitories. For boys, I stayed for 3 years in dormitories, and for boys, I think the maximum people in one room is 3. But for girls, there are some, I don't know, I have heard from my friends that sometimes you are 4 girls in one room or 6 girls in one room. So sometimes it could be difficult for you to adjust. But I must tell you, but all those people will be foreigners, so you will really enjoy it. Let me tell you, just the fun part is that when I came here, my roommate was from Syria and China. In the next year, the roommate was from Iraq and Mongolia. So it's really very strange thing. They were not able to speak English. I was not able to speak Turkish and Arabic, as well. So it was really strange. We used to communicate with each other with symbols. We used to open our Google, just to translate it. It was really funny, and we learned a lot of things, like a lot of culture, a lot of language. There are many things to learn, really. Let me tell you. So don't be afraid about that. Even if you are 6 people or 8 people, you will learn much more things from them, and vice versa. Coming back to the academic and cultural guidance, so these are the things that you can do once you are awarded Turkish scholarships. Like you can have a lot of internship programs, a lot of sports and other cultural activities. International Student Academy is also open since last 3 years. They are working for this academy. You can meet with a lot of diplomats, a lot of ministers. I had a chance to meet the foreign ministers and also to the president of Turkey under these programs. I also work with so many, some of the biggest organization. I think if I would have been in India, I would have able to work with them, because I work with United Nations, I work with Red Crescent, I work with so many international organizations here. So it's a very good opportunity for all of you to come here, use your skills, use your talent to work in so many good organizations. Now, coming back to the graduation. For example, if you have graduated from Turkey, it's not over now. Still now, there are so many alumni association in every country. In India, as I have said, we are not very active right now, but we have a small alumni association. The Turkish Scholarship Committee, they also have an alumni page where you can go and register that you are a Turkish scholarship graduate. And they will be in touch with you whenever there is a need for you, or whenever they are coming to your country, or maybe they have some kind of job or opportunity for you, they will get in touch with you. So right now there are more than 1,050, there are more than 35 alumni association in 30 countries. Most of these countries are in Africa. and the alumni are really doing well. Like they are really helping their country and to Turkey in getting close to each other. Coming back to the academic calendar, this calendar is already available in their website. So your application process is from January to February. Now, after this, they will evaluate until May, and in June and July, you will be invited for your interview, and then in August, your results, maybe in August or September, they will give you the results, and on the basis of your results, you will be accepted or rejected, and on the basis of that you will be invited to Turkey, like for the visa and everything, if the visa and everything, every other process are done. And the other thing is, like for scholarship, the postdoctoral scholarship, which is available throughout the year, but as I said, there is only, it takes 3 months to evaluate your scholarship programs. So once, if you have applied in like October, November, like January or March, then your results will come in April. So you can see this calendar. It's not a, I think it's a very easy to understand this calendar. Now, coming back to the NEST scholarship, I hope I don't have much time left, but coming back to the scholarship, this one is, as I said, like Khatib, a short-term scholarship program. As you can see, they give 2,000 Turkish lira as an stipend, and once a flight for coming and going, like once you will come to Turkey, they will arrange everything for you, and then when you are going back after finishing your course, they will give you a flight. They also cover your accommodation and Turkish language course. Unfortunately, the health insurance is not covered under this scholarship program, so you have to buy this by yourself, and I'm telling you, it's not very expensive. It's very cheap here in Turkey. Depends upon what kind of health insurance you are seeking for. Post research scholarship, PDF, we say. For this scholarship also, you can apply throughout the year. The monthly stipend is 4,000 TL, like Turkish lira. And for this scholarship, you will not be given accommodation, health insurance, or any other things. You have to do by yourself. So the program only gives you 4,000 Turkish lira. That's it. But you need to have an first of all, you need to have an invitation letter from any professor or university in Turkey. Only then you can apply for this scholarship. So if you are able to get a invitation letter from a Turkish professor in Istanbul University, then you applied under this scholarship program, and automatically they will give you scholarship. The only one more thing which is required here is your proposal for the postdoctoral research. So you have to upload your proposal in the system, and then after 3 months they will declare your result. These are some other scholarships. I will go very fast with these scholarships because time is really very short, and we also have to go for the question answer session. So this is Diyanat scholarship. Diyanat, which means religion, we call it the Ministry of Religious Affairs. So Diyanat is very popular in Turkey, and the Presidency of Religious Affairs of Turkey, they give this scholarship. They also have a collaboration with Turkish scholarship. So you can apply for this scholarship, and the application process has already started from 1 February. The deadline is 15 March. They offer bachelor's, master's, and PhD program. But as I said, this is all very religious kind of a scholarship. You can do Islamic science, you can study Arabic, you can study Imam and Khatib, you can study so many other things. All these scholarships, as you can see here, they are very different scholarship programs. This is one scholarship program, this is another scholarship programs. All these programs are different. Like maybe, for example, if you want to study theology, you can just apply under this Uluslararası Imam Hatip Lisans program. If you want to study Islamic science, you can apply Uluslararası Ilahiyat Lisans program. So these scholarships, you can just go to their website, www.diyanet. Sorry, I'm saying in Turkish. www.nokta is like full stop. So you can go to this website and just see the by yourself. It's available in English and Turkish as well. So you can go and see these kind of scholarship. Each scholarships provide different kind of stipend, different kind of facilities. For example, in some scholarship programs, they offer only 200 Turkish lira, but they will cover all your expenses, and they will also give you flight tickets, accommodations, health insurance, everything. And maybe for other scholarship programs, they will give you 500 or 600. So depending upon the course, depending upon the type of scholarship that you are applying, they will give you a stipend. So as I said, they cover stipend, accommodation, health insurance, flight tickets, and a very interesting thing is that they give you flight tickets for every year, you know. So like, for example, if you are coming here in 2021 and you want to go back to your country in 2022, they will give you a flight tickets. It's not like just first and last time they will give you the flight ticket. No, they will give you each and every year. Also, if you want to stay in dormitories, you can stay. For some people it is mandatory to stay, like in some courses, but for some they can stay. If they are married, they can stay out of the dormitory in a private home. However, their stipend will be higher. If you are staying in dormitories, then your stipend maybe will be less because you are already having an accommodation. Coming back to this scholarship program, that is TÜBİTAK scholarship program. This scholarship program was given by the Ministry of Education in Turkey, and this scholarship is mainly focused to the students of science and technology. However, they also give scholarships to humanities and arts students, but this scholarship is mainly focused to people who are coming from science and technological background. So this scholarships also provides you stipend, accommodation, university placement, and health insurance. However, the stipend is very high here. Maybe for bachelor they give 2,000, for master they give 3,500, for PhD they give 4,500. So the stipend is really hard. But again, if it is really hard, if there is a lot of amount of money is involved, then it is very limited. So they give very few people. They also have some kind of academic exchange program. If you are doing a research on microbiology or maybe on quantum mechanics or something, you can come here, stay for 6 months or 7 months. Razak bhai, am I audible now? Because it says my internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Sajid bhai, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry I'm taking a lot of time because this is really important to explain. So
Sajid bhai, you can take extra time. It's interesting.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So coming back to this scholarship, this is really important for people who are coming from science background. I would say please apply for this scholarship because you will get a handsome amount of money apart from getting all the other luxuries like accommodations and health insurance and other things. Sometimes they also pay you in dollars, so it will be really good for you if you are getting it in dollars because Turkish lira sometimes get higher and sometimes it also getting very low because as I said, like when I came here I was getting like $600. Now it is equal to like $300 or $250. So and people who are also involved in industrial sectors, they can apply under these scholarships. This is a short-term and a long-term scholarship program, so you can apply in all these programs. For postdoctoral, they also offer international postdoctoral programs, and they, I think, pay you 4,500 Turkish lira. Sometimes they also pay you in dollars, so you can apply. And I have also shared the link of these scholarship programs at the end of this presentation, so you can go to their website. Everything is available in English language. You can just follow the instructions and apply these scholarships. Yunus Emre, actually I just put this scholarship program because this is very important scholarship program for people who are studying Turkish language in India, because as you know, there are only one university, that is Jamia Millia Islamia, that offers diploma and bachelor's degree in Turkish language. However, some people are also trying to open some courses in there is a course in JNU, but there is also these courses are just certificates and diploma courses. Even in Aligarh, there is Aligarh Muslim University, there is a diploma and certificate courses for Turkish language, but these are not enough because I know people who are coming after finishing graduation in Jamia Millia Islamia, they are not even able to crack the C1 language program here in Turkey. They also have to go through with the C1 language program. And however, because they already know some of the Turkish language, they can pass it very easily. in compared to people who don't know anything about Turkish language. So this is very important for Yunus, for people who are studying Turkish language. Also, other people can also apply. People from arts, from culture, from music, from history, they can also apply. Since last 2 years, I think they have made some kind of policy changes. Otherwise, they used to give 5 to 10 students each year. It's a short-term scholarship program. So you will be invited in Turkey in some of the institutions, and then you will be given some Turkish language lectures. You will also be able to visit various universities, various institutions in Turkey. Since last 2 years, as I said, they have really reduced their scholarship program. Now they are just selecting 1 or 2 students from each country, like maybe like 1 from India, 2 from India, like and this is a very, very short half-month or maximum 2 months scholarship program. You will come here, you will learn a lot of things. It's just an interactive scholarship program. You just come here, learn some Turkish language, and you will get to know about Turkey, Turkish language, Turkish history, Turkish culture and art, all these things. So if someone wants just to visit Turkey, just like not for the study, but just to know about the Turkey and Turkish language, they can apply under this scholarship program, and they can easily come here. They will cover everything: your flight tickets, your health insurance, everything. Now, there are some other scholarships also, just like the Turkish Department of History. They also offer scholarship programs. There is also a scholarship from Turkish language institution, because they have a Turkish language institution, so they also give scholarship. But those scholarships are very limited and for specific people. That's why I'm not mentioning here. You can Google it out, like you will find it very easily. Now, the most important thing I would like the most important things that I want to explain here is challenges. You have seen all the luxuries that the Turkish scholarship is going to give you, but now there are certain challenges that you really need to face. The first one is communication problem. As I have said, that Turkish people, like I must say, like 99% people speak Turkish language. So if you don't know Turkish language, maybe you will face some problem. But this problem is really easy to solve, because when you will come here, you will be received by people who know English. You will be placed in your dormitories. In dormitories, there are people who can speak English. When you will go to your department, they will also help you to get yourself registered and everything. The only thing is that when you will start interacting with the locals, you will really find difficulties, because not only they speak Turkish, but they have accent, which is very different from what you will learn in the Tomer, in the Turkish language schools. So maybe from people from the Eastern Turkey, they will speak really different than people speaking in Istanbul or in Ankara. So, but however, this problem is very easy to be solved, because you will just go through with 1 year Turkish language program, and if you are sincere enough, you can learn all the languages and you can talk with the people. The other challenge is the C1 certificate exam. As I said, to start your department or your course, you need to have a C1 language certificate, which is very important. If you couldn't pass this exam, they will give you another chance after 3 months. If you couldn't pass, they will again give you one chance for 1 month. Like, you will be given 2 chances to pass this examination. If you couldn't pass this exam, unfortunately, you cannot start your department. So this is the saddest part of this scholarship program. But yeah, I have never met anybody who hasn't passed this exam. Even the dumbest guy can pass this exam, because they give you a lot of chance, and the teachers here are really good. They will teach you in a very, interactive way, so that you can pass your exams. Yeah, maybe you will find difficulties in your department if your department is 100% Turkish, because academic Turkish is very tough. But by the time you will learn these things, and if your department is in English, then you don't have to worry. You just can continue. Placement in universities. So why I think this is not a big problem, but I just wanted to focus on this kind of rare situation, because maybe you may have noticed that it is not you who will select the courses or departments in the system. It is they who will give you the offers of choices. depending upon the transcript or the result that you are going to upload there. So maybe if you have done some kind of BA in geography, they will offer you masters in Turkish language and literature. Or maybe you have studied law and they are offering you masters in social work. So this kind of some cross connections can also happen, and maybe you don't know about that course, or you don't know about that department, and you will be placed on that department. It will be really difficult for you to survive. Because I remember I had a friend from China. She did her bachelor's in law from Beijing University, and she was very studious, very hardworking, but she was offered masters in Turkish language and literature. So when she came here, she find it very difficult, but since she was very hardworking, she finishes her courses in 2 years or like 3 years, and then she went back to her country. So sometimes some kind of this kind of things can also happen, but it rarely happens, because I haven't seen a lot of people complaining for this kind of things. Department proficiency exam. So this is also a very unique kind of things. Like if you are studying, for example, political science in your masters, and you want to do PhD in public administration, or maybe in IR, international relation, or it can happen also with technical things also, that you will be offered these kind of PhD programs. But when you will go to your department, they will check your credit system, they will check your courses that you have taken in the past, and if your courses are not matching with the courses that they offer in their masters, then you have to do 1 year departmental proficiency course that is called Hazırlık. And in that 1 year, you have to take courses from masters from that respective university, and you have to pass those exams. So, for example, if you come here in Turkey and you did your 1 year language course, then 1 year your proficiency exam, and then 2 years masters. So it takes 4 years to complete your masters. Unlike in India, where we can finish it in 2 years. So that is one of the things that I would say to take care of it, and I have also written it in my next point, that time period, because sometimes it takes really long time, because for PhD also normally it is 5 years, but when you will come here, you have to do a 1 year language program. And it will take 6 years to finish your PhD. But however, it is very good for me, because you are learning a very new language, which automatically is going to help you and is going to make your CV strong. So it's a very good opportunity. But for this Hazırlık, I don't know how many of you will accept to spend 4 years for one master's. Now, coming back to this dormitory issues, as I said, for male candidate, I have never seen any kind of problem. But for female, as I said, there are sometimes 6 girls in a room or 8 girls in a room. So maybe for some people it could be a problem. But again, you will learn a lot of things from them. You will also have a chance to put your culture, your language in front of them, and they can learn from you. Stipend deduction is a very nice, how can I say, award and punishment kind of policy, that they can also deduct your stipend if you are not performing well in your academics. For example, now you are applying in that system. That system, after you are getting that scholarship, will become your tracking system. So they will track all your academic achievements. For example, if you couldn't achieve a CGPA of 2.5 out of 4, then they will cut your scholarship up to 25% or up to 50%. Even if you couldn't finish your PhD on time and you want some extension, yes, you have a right to extend your PhD for 1 year, and they will give you 50% of your scholarship. But if you couldn't finish it on time, or maybe on 6 years, then you will not be given a scholarship. Again, for the Turkish language courses, like there are many students who really start hating, going to the TOMER, we call it TOMER, Turkish language schools, and they skip their classes. So if you are skipping your classes and your attendance is below 75%, then again they will deduct your scholarship up to 25% to 50%. The other thing is cultural issue. I don't think it's a very big issue, but let me tell you, the people here are really different from people in our country or any other country. So you really can face some kind of cultural shocks here. But again, it's not a very different thing. By the time you will learn all these things, by the time you will be aware of all these things, just wanted to say this, that whatever courses you are being offered, just try to find out what kind of courses is this, and whether whether that university is very good in that or not. What are the qualifications of the teacher that are going to teach you. So you can find all those things in the website, and everything is available there. So try to do it in that way, and only accept a scholarship once you are very much satisfied with the scholarship and very much how can I say confident about that. Otherwise, you have many options. You can go for another country, and you can go for like some other European countries. But depending upon your qualification, your economical background, this scholarship is one of the best scholarship to get, and you will really be really happy if you will like study in some of the best universities, prestigious universities in Turkey. So I think I am done here, because we have a lot of I am already running short of time. So let's just start with the question answer session, and then we can move on to the if there is anything special that I have to say. These are the useful links that you can just go through it. I will share this PPT with the host, and you guys can maybe collect it from there, or maybe you can email me. I can send you this PPT and also other documents. So these are the very important links, that how to apply, what are the things that you maybe needed for applying this scholarship. So you can go through these YouTube links. There are some other links also. You can just go through, and you can do it very easily, I think. So thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you for your attention. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you, Mr. Sajid. Thank you very much for a very comprehensive yet detailed presentation, and you've spoken everything about the scholarship. And a personal thanks for correcting my pronunciation. It is Hajattepe.
It's not your fault, actually. I did the same thing, I did the same thing in my interview, and he was so confused. There is no university called Hajattepe. I said, oh my God, then did I apply it in some other country?
Please correct me once, like it is Hajattepe.
So the C is pronounced as G, J.
Okay,
so
Hajattepe. Yeah. So thank you so very much. Thanks a lot for this correction. And students, just to summarize, though he has covered every detail, but one thing that you need to remember is whenever you are applying for this program, you need to have this thing clear in mind, that you need to learn Turkish language.
Yes.
We'll go ahead further with the details in the question answer session, but let me summarize. 28th February is the last date for applying for the scholarship, and for the religious learning, that is at the end of the scholarship, you have 15 March as the deadline. So if you're planning, just start it, like no time is left now, and you will get your results by September. And for the postdoctoral programs, it is throughout the year, so you don't have to worry about it. And the most important part that he has explained is like right from the login to uploading the documents, selecting the university, and writing the letter of intent, which is very important. You need not to show that you are just dying to get this scholarship. You need to be yourself, honest. You need to be very clear what sort of program are you looking at, and what is your aim to go and learn this. And a reference letter is also required. And since I was browsing through the question answer session, if I get this thing repeated, most of the question and answer will be solved. There are two basic criteria. One is the age and the academic background, the academic score of yours. Age, I'm just repeating, though you will be having the presentation with you. For research, it is 45 years. For PhD, it is 35 years. For masters, it is 30 years. And for UG, it is 21 years. So just look at in what category are you falling and what course are you applying. And the percentage, the academic score for your UG is 70%, and the rest of the PhD masters, and it is 70%. And for the medicine, most of the people have asked question about MBBS and other thing. For medicine, dentistry, and pharmacy, it is 90%. about the Turkish language, I will move ahead with the question answer session, though it is very, very clear that you need to learn the Turkish language. And whenever you go there, you will have to pass the C1 certificate, failing which you would not be allowed to continue your course. But Mr. Sajid, the first question that I will take is, because they were asking, this is like self-explanatory, Turkish language is a must. But the question that comes here is Turkish language course will be parallel with the academic course, or like what?
No, actually, for the first year, you won't be able to connect with your department. You will be straight going to your TOMER, which is called the Turkish language schools. So the first year, you are not going to study anything related to your department or your course or anything. You just have to learn the Turkish language. Once you will finish and you will have the C1 certificate, only then you can go to your department and start your study. Only the case is if you are doing, if like there are some countries where their language is already Turkish, like Azerbaijan or Bosnia or other, they also have this kind of advantage that they already know Turkish language. And if somebody who is coming from Jamia Millia Islamia and he already have Turkish language bachelor's, so he just come here and he have to give a Turkish language proficiency exam, that is also called a C1 exam. If he can crack that exam, he can straight go to his department and he can start his course. He don't have to waste his 1 year in learning Turkish language.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Because he has already enough awareness or knowledge about this. Yeah.
Okay, so you have spoken about the bachelor's, master's, PhD, and the medicine courses. There was a question: do we have something for the paramedical courses? Like they're asking if we have the scholarship, or someone has said that I have done my neurocath lab technician course. Can I have the scholarship for that? So, do we have the scholarship available for paramedical courses?
Of course, for that thing, you need to check on their website, as I have already put the link over there. You just have to write your course, and then it will be appear on the screen that which university is offering this course and whether this course is in English or in Turkish. If it is in English, how much IELTS or TOEFL score is needed. There are also some sports scholarships where you can apply and you can get that scholarships. So of course these scholarships are available, but I don't know what specific thing that you needed. Maybe for PhD you need to have a specific kind of topic for that for that scholarship. So it depends totally upon the department. Maybe it is available, but it is named as something different. They call it something, because even in social work when I apply, there was no social work. So and people who are going to apply for social work, let me tell you that in Turkish they call it social çalışma, which is called as social service, not social work. So if you are applying in social service, that is also a kind of social work. That is not anything else than social work. That is social work. So you can apply for social service also.
Okay. And one of the other question which a person asks is the grade system. Which grade system is acceptable? They're saying we have been applied, everything is done, but not the scholarship is not accepted because of the grade system.
See, in the application system, they have two systems. One is the CGPA system. The other one is mark system, that out of 100, how much you have scored. So I don't think they cannot convert it, because if you have any other system, there are certain kinds of converters where you can convert that system to a CGPA system or to a 100 mark system. So I don't think there won't be any problem, because even from my master's, I had a CGPA system. I uploaded my document and they accepted it. So, but the only thing is you need to fill the marks according to your according to the CGPA system. And if not, then they may not accept your degree. That's the case.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we have another question regarding this. After having done the masters, that is MBBS, can they offer this MD course as well?
Yes, but those scholarships are very limited, because Turkish government, I think they have a kind of, I don't know, it's very unofficial, but they have a target to take humanities and arts students from India. So people who are applying for like professional courses like law or MBBS, they being offered very less. Like, I don't want to discourage you, but yes, their medicine, and like if I talk about my university, the medicine is #1, and my university ranks 5th in whole of the Europe. So that's why their standard is very high. And due to the language also, because all these courses are in language, they don't hire more, they don't take people from these professional courses. So yes, of course you can apply, but I think the scholarship for these kind of courses are very limited, very less. Yes, you can be accepted for this scholarship program, but you also you may not be accepted for this, but yeah, the application process are there. You can apply, you can see your department, you can see your courses, but I don't know, I'm not sure, I have never met anybody who is doing medicine through this scholarship. Most of them, they are self-financed, or they came from some different scholarship program like Dayanat, or maybe like other scholarship program, but yes, they have this scholarship.
Okay, thank you. Another question which most of them have asked is the job opportunities. Like, what are the job opportunities once they are done with the course? And secondly, are there any part-time jobs available as we have in other countries like Australia that you are studying and you can get the part-time jobs as well?
See, this is very complicated because unofficially, I can say the president himself has announced that student doing masters and PhD can do 40 hours of job in a week. But right now, due to this pandemic and other things, the jobs are really scarce. There are very less opportunities, and that too, if you want to do it legally, you need to have a permission from the Ministry of Employment and Exchange. So there are permissions in a legal way, but the chances to get a job is very less if it is not related to your department. Because last year there was a job and I applied for that, but I couldn't get the permission from the employment exchange because that job was not related to my field. So you have to convince them that this job is related to your field, and then you can do it. Yeah, but unofficially you can do, because I am doing a job here as a part-time, and it's a very easy thing. I am also a research assistant. You can do these kind of jobs, academic jobs, but if you want to go to the industry or things like professional jobs like management or something, you really need to have a very good skills, and you also need to have a very good Turkish language, mastery in Turkish language. But yes, you can apply for 40 hours, like it's allowed by the scholarship committee, and most of the people, they are doing jobs. I know many of my friends, they are doing jobs, but maybe this job could not be related to your field. It could be something else. It could be something.
So other than the part-time jobs, Mr. Sajid, do we, in your PPT, you said you have the placement also available from the university. So can you just throw a bit more light on the job opportunities after having done the UG course or the master's course? Like, are there ample chances of getting employed there itself?
See, getting employed in Turkey could be a difficult one because, as I said, because of this pandemic, the jobs, if you will check the I don't want to lie, and I just wanted to be honest.
Other than the pandemic,
other than the pandemic, there are plenty of opportunities that you can do jobs in other fields. Like, for example, you can be a foreign export manager, here in many of the countries, because you know English, you know Indian languages, so you can work in a firm which is dealing with Indian industries. You can be an officer here for translator interpretation or interpretation. You can also work in so many NGOs, so many other agencies if it is related to your field. Of course, there is opportunity, but you have to find it, because there are many foreigner students who are applying for these jobs, and you have to fight with those students. And if your skills and skill sets and your CV is enough, then they will automatically offer you job. But I know most of my people who came with me in 2015, all of them, they are doing job, not officially, but unofficially they are doing job.
So the regular competition in the job is there apart from the one that you have said.
From that,
yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So the other question is, do they have a dependent visa? Like, if the spouse is going, for those who are going for a doctoral or a PhD program, do they provide this dependent visa for the spouse?
Yes, of course they do provide, but as like any other dependent visa, you have to show some amount of money in your account. Also, if you are married, you have to show your wife like your marriage certificate. Also, like I know many of my friends who are doing PhD and they're married, they brought their wife here. They are staying here. Like, so yes, it's possible. Of course, if you have a wife or children, you can invite them. They can stay with you. But yes, sometimes it could be a problematic if your visa expires, or if you have finished your study, you cannot you and your wife or your family has to go back unless you have a how can I say, legal job or a work permit, working permit here in Turkey. Otherwise, for PhD duration, you can invite your wife and your family here. Like many of my friends, they are staying with their wives, so it's totally allowed.
Okay. And the other question is Hazlitt required for PhD or it is just for masters?
For both of them, actually. Like, depending upon your the previous how can I say, credits and courses that you have studied. For example, when I came here, I also went to my head of the department and I said, I have done these courses in my masters, so do I need to go for Hazlitt or something? She said, no, your credits are enough and your courses that you have taken is already same that we offer in our masters, so it's okay. But yeah, I remember one of my friend from Ethiopia, he was studying nuclear science, I think. His courses was not matching to the courses that offers here in the masters, so he has to go through 1 year Hazlitt course and then he started his PhD. So totally depends upon what courses you are studying in your masters or bachelors, and if those courses are also given by the Turkish universities, then you don't have to do Hazlitt, you can directly go to for your PhD or masters.
Okay. And the last question, I think we've covered every question. Is there any advantage or like, for example, the people who have done their TOEFL or IELTS something. So in terms of selection or something, do you have this advantage of having a good score in TOEFL or IELTS?
I guess yes, because in 2015, I also gave my TOEFL and I was placed in Hacettepe University. Actually, out of 12 options, I was only offered one option, that was Hacettepe. So, and my courses are in English. I'm writing my thesis in English also. So there is a very big advantage of giving these kind of, international English language exams.
But then you have to you have to pass this C1 certificate for Turkish.
Of course, that is a part of the scholarship program. That is not related to your department. That is related to the scholarship program, because one of the objective of this scholarship is to teach Turkish language to the students who are coming, because they are going to stay in Turkey. And for the interactive session, if you are going to interact with the local people, you need to have a knowledge of Turkish language.
One question which is being repeated, that there's no parallel system, I believe, the lateral entry system. Someone is doing some course second sem or third year or something. So is there any chance of...
Yes, there are chances. If you have done like first year of your masters in India and you wanted to continue here with the second year, you can apply for this scholarship. When you will come here, you can talk to your department that, sir, I have already done my first year of my masters and these are the courses that I have studied. They will just count the credit and the courses, and if it is suitable for them, they will directly put you in the second year of masters or maybe in the second year of your bachelor's. So it's possible.
That's wonderful. The last question is, do we have a bachelor's in aerospace engineering? Like, do we have certain fields in the engineering?
Yes, actually, one of my friend, he has done engineering in aeronautics, space and aeronautics. He is also from, I think, Kerala. But I don't know, like, because the chances to get selected for those scholarships is very limited. You can apply, just try your luck. Inshallah, if you are how can I say, if you are skilled enough, if you are qualified enough, they will select you. Yes, there is a university called Ankara Aeronautics and Space and Aeronautics University, and you will be placed into that. That is the only university in Ankara, but in Istanbul there are other universities also. So in Ankara you can apply for that university, and the chances to get is good. And he was also from that scholarship program, like one of my friends. So I think you can get that scholarships in aeronautics, and even in quantum mechanics. The Turkish people are really wanted to develop their aeronautics and nuclear energy. So if somebody is working on nuclear energy or aeronautics or quantum mechanics, they can apply for this scholarship, and the chances to get those scholarships very high.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Sajid, for taking your time out and for a wonderful session. It was really a lot of learning. and giving so much of time to us. Thanks a lot. A hearty thanks from the entire AMP team and from the attendees and panelists. So, Razak Bhai, do you have to say something, or shall we move ahead with the closure?
Sajid bhai, I have few questions from my side also.
Yeah,
First
sure,
one
go
is if you
ahead.
can type your email ID in the chat box.
Yes, that was I was going to do that before ending the session. So I am putting my I'm putting my chat box. Yes. So I'm writing my email ID, and you guys can, but let me tell you, please do not ask unnecessary questions. If it is really important and it is required to answered by me, please, because I know there are a lot of friends from India. They ask me, bhai मैं jacket लेकर के आऊँ या sweater लेकर के आऊँ? So I don't want these kind of questions. Just tell me that, okay, I have stuck in these kind of, application process or these things. So you can ask all those things, but don't ask me unnecessary questions, because I am also a PhD student. I may not have enough time to answer के jacket लेकर के आऊँ, के ये लेकर के आऊँ. So you can ask me, and inshallah, I will answer you. So this is my email ID. I am putting it here. And if you have any other queries, you can write. Even if it is not related to Turkish scholarship, maybe it is related to any other scholarship, you can just ask me. Inshallah, I'll try to reach out to you. If I am not reaching it out to you in 1 or 2 days, that means maybe I am out of the station or in some other places. So maybe, but I am definitely going to revert to you. So don't hesitate to write to me.
One thing to the audience over here, the entire video which you saw now will be live on YouTube channel of AMP and on the Facebook page of AMP. So my request will be there for everyone to go back and see the video once again.
Okay.
If your question is solved by looking at the video, it's well and good. If it is not, then only put a mail to Sajid. That will be a better way of interacting.
So that I won't have to answer all the questions. So one more thing, I think there is a question in the chat box. I think it's from, I just wanted to answer all the questions so that you don't have to worry about. So there is a question from, who is she? Mir Gulzar Ahmed. So Mirza or Mirza, I don't know if I pronounce it wrong. I'm pursuing LLB.
Ahmed,
okay, yeah. So Mr. Gulzar, yes, definitely you can apply for LLM. There are like one of the best university for law is Ankara University. You can apply. It is available in the website. Just go and upload your documents of LLB, and automatically they will offer you LLM, or maybe they can offer you something else. Maybe like, for example, they can offer you masters in European law, masters in Turkish law. They can offer you these kind of specific courses also. So if you are interested, you may go for that. But there is no specific course calling it masters in law. There is no specific course. They have a specific, like they have courses like masters in European law, master in Turkish law, master in how can I say, international law. These kind of courses are there. So if you are interested in those things, you can just go and select. And also, let me tell you one very important thing, that there are 12 options in the choices, and when you are selecting, try to prioritize those options which you really wanted to have, because if you will put Ankara University, Master of Law in Ankara University, that will be your first preference, okay? But if somebody has a very good score and he has also given the same priority, then he will be selected for that university, not you, because it also depends which university you are applying for. So if your scores are low, try to select those universities which are less in ranking, try to select those courses which are less how can I say, demanding in that scholarship application. So you can go for that also. That is also a strategy to get into this scholarship.
Sajid, you have not typed your email ID, I think so.
I have already typed it before that, I think. Okay, let me type it again. I have already
I'm doing it. It has come as a personal message.
Okay, I'm so sorry that.
Yeah, that's okay.
My email ID is, okay, you have already done it. Okay, then. Yeah. So my email ID, I'm telling you, it's very simple. mdsajidkhan70@gmail.com. So if you guys can hear me, just write it down.
Yeah, Sajid, I got that email ID. Now my question, in India, one of the most fantastic degree is MBBS. A lot of people want to go for MBBS. The cost of MBBS in India in government institute is very low. So people who have very good meritorious score, they can go for it. But the
Yes.
cost of MBBS in private colleges is very expensive,
Yes.
right? So I just wanted to do a comparison in terms of Turkey. If I can get a scholarship for MBBS, well and good. Turkey offers that. It's very good. If not, by payment also, how it is comparatively if I pay and do MBBS in Turkey?
I think it's much higher than what it is in India, because these are most demanding professions in Turkey. Medicine, like law and engineering, these are most demanding, and it's really like if you want to, like just for example, if you want to do your MBBS for one semester, you have to pay at least for $1,000 as a semester fee. So it will be like 70,000 or 80,000 for one semester. I don't know the exact amount, but it is around something 1,000 or $1,500. So it's really expensive. But yes, if you are not getting a scholarship under Turkish Bursary, Turkish scholarship, you have different scholarship programs. Maybe you can go for TÜBİTAK. Maybe you can go for Diyanet scholarship. They also offer for MBBS or other things. There are also some other scholarships by the university itself. Like, for example, if you want to apply for Hacettepe University, there is a fund in the Hacettepe University. You can apply from that fund that this university should give me a scholarship or a grant to pursue my study. But of course, for those kind of university scholarship, you need to have a very good score, GRE score or GMAT score, TOEFL score, and you can directly apply to that university. It's not a very difficult task. And I know many of my people, like our friends, they are doing PhD or master through the university scholarships as well. So yeah, you can apply through that scholarships. But it's really expensive. Let me tell you, self-finance will cost you maybe, if you can pay for like one semester or two semester, you come here, you get a job, and then you can do it. Like that is possible. Otherwise, it will be really expensive for doing masters or MBBS by self-finance.
Sajid bhai, my question was comparative to India. A private college MBBS in India costs you around 10 lakh to 25 lakh per annum.
Mm-hmm.
So a 5-year MBBS is costing me either 50 lakh for a 10 lakh rupee course, or a 25 lakh rupee course, it cost me 1.25 crore. So in comparative to that, how much is the cost of MBBS in Turkey, a paid course?
See, if you are going for the private institution, that is also very expensive. But if you are going to the government subsidized universities, then you will have you will do the same courses in the same amount of money that you will do in India. I would personally will not recommend for coming to Turkey and doing MBBS if it is not Hacettepe or if it is not Bilkent, because these are the only two universities which are really good in medicine. Otherwise, our medicine is much better than these universities. I don't want to be I don't want to make some kind of false comments that okay, universities are really good, come here. And then you can do your, if you have money, you can just do your masters and your MBBS and medical things. But again, if you are not going to get a job after completing that, that will be a really bad situation for all of us, including me, if I am suggesting those kind of things. So the thing is it's better if you can do it in India, or if you can do it in some best universities in Turkey. Otherwise, don't do it in Turkey, because I know there are many of my friends that they were really rich from other countries, not from India, from maybe from Nigeria, from other. They came by their own money, they invested their time and energy and everything, and it's really hard to get recognition, because those universities are not recognized by their country. So don't get into the scam. The better thing is you can go to Ukraine. I have some friends in Ukraine. The MBBS is really cheap there. There are some other countries also, like I think Singapore is very best option for you. But in Turkey, I will not recommend to do MBBS by self-finance, because it will be really expensive for you. And if you are not doing it from a good university, again, it will be not very beneficial for you when you will go back to India.
Thank you, Sajid bhai. I mean, very well you summarized the question also. Now the next question was, post doing your qualification in Turkey, how are the job opportunity in European countries, especially because Turkey is an entry gate. So ideally,
Yes.
people will go with that in mind.
See, actually, you said it right. Turkey is a gateway of Europe. So there are a lot of opportunities. Even during your studies, you will get a chance to go for Erasmus Plus or Erasmus Mundus. You can go to for internship. I know there are a lot of my African friends. They went to European countries and they never came back. So they got a citizenship and now they are staying there. So it's really easy in compared to India to go to European countries from Turkey. And also there are a lot of scholarships for Turkish people, but since they are not very equipped enough in English language, they cannot avail those scholarships. So it's a very good opportunity for all of us who are very good in English and other skills. They can go to European countries through these scholarships. And once you have once you have given internship or any kind of exchange program for these European universities, then automatically you can make a good networks in those countries. And then for your higher studies, maybe for your PhD or for your masters, you can go and apply in those universities. So it's a very good chance. In this regards, I must say that you should come here if you wanted to go to European countries. Many of people are already doing this. They are coming here, they're doing a small course or bachelor's or something, and then for their masters, they're going to Canada, they're going to European countries, they're going to even US. It's very easy from here because the rush is very less as compared to India. In India, it's really cutthroat competition, but here it's not like that.
Okay, thank you so much, Sajid bhai, for your valuable time. Your presentation was very comprehensive. सब कुछ आपने बताया क्या चीज को देखना चाहिए क्या नहीं देखना चाहिए. So we will share this with the audience also.
Okay.
And thank you for sharing your email ID. My only request to the audience is be very specific when you put a mail to Sajid bhai. Don't put a generic mail and don't ask questions which are already covered in the PPT today. So be very specific. If Sajid bhai knows the answer, he'll come back to you. If he doesn't know the answer, he will try to get it from his friends and come back to you.
Yes, I can get you in touch with the people who are relevant for you. Like maybe if I am not expert on Dhyanath or I am not expert on other scholarship programs, but I know a lot of people. We have a group who can help you with your specific, because in some universities they have a very different laws. They don't even listen to the Turkish scholarship community. They have their own standards, So if there is any such kind of queries or questions, you directly can send it to me. And if I don't know those answers, then I will send it to some people, and you will get in touch with that person, and you can easily handle that. The other thing is I wanted to say that I got some queries before this session. I don't know that guy is here or not. He was from Aligarh. So I must say that if I have missed anything or if you have any confusion, do not hesitate to write me. Just like I know I said this in a very harsh way that don't write these things, but really if you have really genuine confusion or a genuine query, you can just write me. Maybe because it's just 15 days left, so I don't want you to miss this opportunity. Just write me and I will try to answer as many as possible,
Okay, thank you so much, Sajid bhai. So here, you can give the closing note and then we'll wind up.
Okay.
Thank you so much, all the participants and speaker, Mr. Sajid. Really appreciate your approach to help reaching out to people and helping them. And I just closed this session with a small dua, which you all must be knowing. Rabbi zidni ilma. That Ya Allah, increase me in my knowledge and allow me to benefit myself and the community at large. Thank you so much, everyone. We are officially closing this webinar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.